The ABOK Ark brand is new, but you already know the manufacturer of these portable charging stations. Today, I'm reviewing a model from ABOK, the Ark2500. It has a rated nominal power output of 2.5 kilowatts and a total internal battery capacity of 2,160 watt hours. You can also easily hook up and connect external batteries to it. Batteries. On Polish YouTube and on the Polish ABOK website, there is the ARC 2800 model, but there is no ARC 2500 model. I wrote to the manufacturer and they sent me the specifications for the ARC 2800. They said it's an updated model and that it will actually have a power of 2800 watts, but it seems like it's the same model. So why not take a moment to see whether the ARC 2500 can successfully manage and power a 2800 watt load? So I'm going to include an additional performance test to the video. If you take a moment to go over to the official ABOK website and take a close look at their extensive product range, it immediately becomes clear who the manufacturer of this product is. The station works with the Bright EMS app, which is an app from the Chinese company SYD. SID is actually the original manufacturer behind these high-quality portable charging stations. One of their most popular and highly sought-after models currently on the market is the powerful Fossibot F2400, which has gained a lot of attention for its reliability and impressive performance. On the European website, the ARC 2500 costs €789. There's no point in comparing the ARC 2500 to the F2400 anymore. The F2400 is a well-deserved veteran. The model is still relevant today, but its specs are weaker. There's no expansion port for battery packs, and it doesn't have 140 watt Type-C ports. The ARC 2500 is more similar to the Aferiy P28, but there are differences between them too. In the ABOK, the internal battery has a nominal voltage of 48 volts, and the additional external battery units also have a voltage of 48 volts. But in the P280 model, the standard nominal operating voltage of the internal battery is 51.2 volts. And for the Aferiy P280, I can buy a specifically designed cable to seamlessly integrate and link an external battery pack and connect a third-party battery pack as well. Let's get back to the ARC 2500. This station has a flashlight that shines 360 degrees. You can remove the flashlight from the body by hand. The 360-degree lighting is pretty good for campers or for a tent. It's a bit inconvenient to take it out, but you won't be doing this operation often. The outlets are traditionally located on the side. You can change the voltage at the outlets to 220, 230, or 240 volts. There's a label indicating that the total output power is 2.5 kilowatts. The button to turn on these outlets is back. The backlight isn't harsh and won't bother you at night. If you hold this button down for 3 seconds, you can change the frequency from 50 to 60 Hz. And if you quickly press this button 10 times, you can change the output voltage to 220, 230, or 240 volts. Now I'll load the station and see what power it can deliver. I've connected a 1 kilowatt hot plate and a 1.5 kilowatt radiator. These are heating devices, so they are active loads. And the station can handle a 2.5 kilowatt load for a long period of time. With this kind of load, the output voltage is 230 volts. Now I'll try to load it with more than 2.5 kilowatts. I've connected a water heater that's 1950 watts. As the second consumer, I'll use an oil. On the first heating level, it'll consume 650 watts, and on the second, 920 W. And for a few seconds, the station showed a load of 2,750 W, but then the power dropped to 2.5 kilowatts. The power decreased because the station's inverter reduced the output voltage to 219 volts. This is the mechanism for reducing. Almost all modern stations have this voltage reduction mechanism when consumption increases, but the mechanism only works with active loads, meaning heating devices. So, in conclusion, the ARC 2500 can handle a load of 2.8 kilowatts. Now, let's listen to how loud this station is. I connected a 40-watt load. The station only started making noise after half an hour. Even with this heavy operational load, the background noise produced is almost completely inaudible to the human ear. I increased the load to 640 watts. With this load, the station produces noise, around 50 dB. During the day, this noise is hardly noticeable, but at night, if you place the station near your bed, that kind of noise will keep you from sleeping. If you load the station with 2 kilowatts or more, the station produces even more noise. but even when it is running under a heavy workload, the noise it produces doesn't sound overly aggressive. On the other side of the station are the inputs. Next to the AC input, it says the power is 1800 watts. That's the battery charging power. There are two connectors for charging from solar panels or from another DC power source. The MPPT controller's operating range hasn't changed. It's from 11.5 to 55 volts. On each connector supports a maximum current of up to 25 amperes, but there are some specifics. The maximum power on each connector is up to 600 watts, so you can charge this station from a DC power source with a capacity of 1200 watts. Two XT90 connectors are used. The kit includes two cables, one charging from solar panels and the other for charging from a car cigarette lighter. And this is probably the first SYD station where the DC input mode switching works correctly. Here, you can choose the mode to charge either from solar panels or from another DC power source. The PV mode, the solar panel mode, is compatible with car charging, which means that there is a current limit of 8 amperes. And by default, this is the selected mode. The station will not draw more than 8 amperes at any voltage. But if you switch to DC mode, you can adjust the charging current from 1 amp to 25 amps. However, in this mode, at low voltage, for example 12 volts, the station will draw no more than 80 watts. But if you increase the voltage to at least 13 volts, then the station will draw more current. The station has an expansion port for connecting external battery packs. When the batteries are charged, at the output of the port, the voltage will be around 50 volts. The nominal voltage of the internal battery is 48 volts. Unfortunately, for such devices, external batteries are not cheap, 700 euros for 2160 watt hours. But if you can find a connector or cable for this station to external batteries, then you can connect a third-party battery with a nominal voltage of 48 volts. When discharging to the boiler, the internal battery with a capacity of 2160 watt hours delivered 1970 watt hours. The station's power button is backlit. Here, the backlight is brighter than on the other buttons. There is a mechanical switch for adjusting the charging power from the AC mains, from 400 to 1800 watts. As for the USB ports, there are two Type-C ports with power delivery 3.1 and a power output of 140 watts. And these ports are independent. Each of them has power delivery 3.1, quick charge 3.0 plus, and there's also the Chinese digital UFCS protocol at 50 watts. And on each port, the station can deliver power up to 140 watts. I connected two devices at the same time, and the station delivers a total 270 watts through Type-C to them. The USB-A ports here have a power output of 18 watts. As for the DC outputs, there's a DC 5.5 by 2.1 port here, where you can get a maximum current up to 3 amps. There's also a car cigarette lighter socket with a maximum current of up to 10 amps. There's an XT60 port as well. And on this port, you can expect to get a maximum current at 25 amperes. Next to these outputs, you'll usually see it labeled as 12 volts, but the actual output's closer to 13.7 volts. As for the mobile app, ABOK has its own app, which is actually called ABOK, but it works through the same server as Bright EMS, so it's just as slow and have the same functions. In the energy management settings, I recommend setting the discharge limit of the station to 5 to 9% and leaving the upper charging limit at 100%. If you turn on the quiet charging mode when charging from the grid, the station will switch to charging at 800 watts in any case. But this isn't super quiet charging. The fans will still run, although they'll be spinning at the lowest possible speed. Just like with other similar stations, there's an automatic shutdown feature, the station if it hasn't been under load for a certain period of time. Just a reminder, the app, in the user profile, there are settings where you can enable a local MQTT broker. This will be useful for those who use the Home Assistant Smart Home Management System. The integration is called Fossibot, and the Ark2500 station were picked up by this integration without any issues. The allows you to control the station and receive various information from it. Now, let's take it apart and see what's inside. There's a flashlight located at the top. The specific model of this station is identified as N098. If you hear somewhere that the Ark2500 is an analog of the Aferiy P280, that's not true. It has a different inverter board. This is what the inverter board of the Aferiy P280 looks like. And in the P280, the MPPT controller is separate from the inverter. In the ARC 2500, the MPPT is located on the inverter board. The transformers used in both stations are the same. Also, in the ARC 2500, the battery pack is made up of 15 sections. Each section has 3 cells connected in parallel, and lithium iron phosphate cells are used as the elements. The cells are from EVE model C33. The production date is 02.12.25. These are the radiators and transistors of the high voltage section, and this is an IGBT transistor, 650 volts, 40 amps. They are available for sale and are not expensive. At the input of the low voltage section, there are capacitors that I've seen in Sandy Solar and Anerel inverters, and this is the AC input. Current. There aren't many X capacitors here, just 2 common mode chokes, a few varistors. If you compare portable power stations with solar inverter, usually solar inverters have more protective components at the input because these portable power stations were simply not designed to work with poor quality power grids. The relays on the outputs are rated for 26 amps. For cooling, 4 12-volt fans are used, which are controlled by voltage. Communication between the system components and external batteries takes place via RS485, and unfortunately, SYD uses a proprietary communication protocol over RS485. The communication speed is 9600, but you can still connect and read the voltage on each cell. This is the front panel board. Here is a microcontroller from GigaDevice. This microcontroller controls the station. The Wi-Fi and Bluetooth board is based on the ESP32C3. There are 2 Type-C controllers, and the transistors for these controllers are located under the heatsink. A small fan was installed to cool this heatsink. Unlike the Fossibot F2400, in the Effigy P210 and P280, the MPPT controller here is already integrated onto the inverter board. And in the low voltage section, there are 2 of the heatsink. One has a voltage booster, the other has the MPPT controller, but use the same transistors. In addition to the transistors, there are also Schottky diodes. I couldn't find these transistors for sale. The maximum voltage is up to 100 volts, and the maximum current at 25 degrees Celsius is up to 155 amps. The board for sine wave shaping is probably the same as in the Aferiy P10 or P280. The current carrying traces are reinforced, the BMS inverter is attached to the plus and minus terminals securely with a screw. And to this screw also is securely connected the wire, specifically the one that goes to the battery expansion connector. The inverter itself also has reinforced current carrying traces. And this is what the BMS looks like. In terms of size, it's the same as the inverter board. From the negative terminals of the cells to the negative contact of the BMS, there's a metal bus bar. A metal bus bar also goes to the positive contact. On this board, there are 2 controllers. One handles communication, and the other is the battery controller. The battery controller from Cinewealth is very popular and is used in battery packs that have 16 cells connected in series. It's programmable and will balance the battery pack according to how it's programmed. And this integrated microcontroller unit is responsible for controlling the charging and discharging switches and carefully manages the pre-charge circuit. For me, a downside is that this portable power station uses a battery pack with a nominal voltage of 48 volts. If it were 51.2 volts, then expanding the capacity of this station would be cheaper. Looking at these 2 connectors, one is soldered, one is not. I realize that this same BMS will be used in the expansion batteries as well. Pre-charged system resistors and a small black button. With this button, you can force the BMS to turn on. Also, let me remind you that the power button on the portable charging station actually turns the BMS on and off. In other words, the BMS is the first thing to turn on in the station, and then it supplies voltage to the outputs, after which the other components are powered on. And as for the switches, for charging and discharging, these BMSs have already started using transistors in TL packages. Let me remind you that transistors in such packages can handle significantly higher current. According to the manufacturer's documentation for these transistors, it states that they're designed to work in BMSs and are rated for voltages up to 100 volts. It is specified that the maximum current is 435 amps at a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, but this is the maximum current. Transistors are selected so that this parameter is at least twice as high as the maximum current that will be used in the device. With a nominal voltage of 48 volts and a power of 2.8 kilowatts, the maximum current will be around 60 amps. The BMS uses 5 of these transistors connected in parallel in the charge and discharge switches. It's time to draw some conclusions. I suspect the ARC2800 is a rebranded ARC2500. This model has already appeared at Choetech. There, it says that the maximum output power is 2.5 kilowatts, but they don't know yet that the station can actually deliver 2.8 kilowatts. One advantage is that it has independent Type-C ports, each with 140 watts. The presence of a 360-degree flashlight, well, that might be interesting for some people, while some other people choose not to use these high-powered flashlights at all. A drawback is that it has a specific battery expansion connector. It'll probably be quite difficult to locate. The transistors that are in modern BMS systems are now almost all in toll packages. That's a plus because they can handle higher currents. The downside is that the app hasn't changed and no new features have been added. On the plus side, there's local Fossibot integration with the smart home, and it's more convenient to control the station through local integration. As for UPS mode, it's available here, but fast switching will only work when the load is up to 2.2 kilowatts. And on the European, the ARC 2500 is gone and the ARC 2800 is out.